What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Things got heated online between Francis and Jake Paul after Francis turned down Jake's offer to step in on short notice. The situation started when Gervonta Davis pulled out of a scheduled matchup, and Jake threw out Francis's name as a potential replacement, offering him the fight on just 2 weeks' notice. When Francis declined, Jake took to social media, and the back and forth began to escalate quickly. Jake opened things up with a bold message, tweeting that Francis should just admit he was already embarrassed in his first boxing experience and didn't want to risk losing to him. He called Francis light work, suggesting he wouldn't be difficult to handle in the ring. That comment stirred up a reaction because Francis isn't someone who sits quietly when his competitiveness or pride is challenged. Francis fired back, telling Jake to choose his words wisely. He reminded him that while Jake may be trying to step into the combat sports spotlight, there are levels to this game. Francis pointed out that after everything that happened with Mike Tyson, Jake should be careful how he talks. He said that if Jake really needed discipline, he could get it, but that Jake should stay in his lane rather than trying to create headlines by poking at someone who has proven himself at the highest level of fighting. Jake didn't back down. He responded by saying that his lane is actually the one that helped Francis. He claimed he had spoken up and supported Francis publicly numerous times and suggested that Francis was now being ungrateful. Jake took the argument a step further by saying Francis was pretending to be humble and morally superior, when in his eyes, Francis was just being self-focused. He criticized Francis for posting his country's flag without using his platform to speak more deeply about issues affecting young people back home. Jake accused Francis of doing interviews for attention, calling him a con man. Jake then ended his message by saying he would beat Francis in a boxing match, and that John Jones would also finish Francis in MMA, doubling down on the disrespect. Francis responded again to close the exchange, saying he acknowledged that Jake had spoken up for him in the past, but that didn't mean they were equals or shared the same lane. He told Jake to grow up and not sink to such a low level just to spark attention. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, UFC veteran Matt Brown recently responded strongly to comments made by Ronda Rousey after she criticized Joe Rogan and questioned his credibility in the MMA world. Rousey suggested that Rogan is not qualified to speak on MMA because he never fought professionally. Her remarks stirred up discussion, and Brown didn't hesitate to share his perspective. Speaking on the latest episode of The Fighter versus the Writer, Brown explained that Rousey seems to still be carrying emotional baggage from her fighting career, and it shows in the way she reacts publicly. Brown said that Ronda has always been someone who could easily tap into a darker, more aggressive side of herself. He acknowledged that this trait served her incredibly well when she was competing. It made her fierce, intense, and dominant. But now that she's no longer fighting, Brown suggested that this same intensity might be doing more harm than good. He said maybe it's time for her to step back, relax, meditate, or even explore something like a spiritual retreat to let go of that emotional weight. According to Brown, people don't hate Ronda. In fact, many fans still want to support her and remember her for the amazing athlete she once was. Brown went on to say that fans, media, and most people in the MMA community are not out to attack her. The majority are neutral or even supportive. But Ronda, in his view, keeps creating situations that turn people away. He described her as someone who consistently shoots herself in the foot, meaning she damages her own image by reacting in defensive or emotional ways. Brown emphasized that psychologically, it seems like she's still living in the moment of her losses, specifically the end of her fighting career. He suggested that emotionally, she never fully processed those defeats, and instead carries resentment and frustration from those moments forward into her current life. He said it's almost like she is still saying to herself, "I should have won," and that mindset keeps her stuck. Brown called it a tragedy because he believes Ronda had the potential to remain a beloved figure in the sport. He expressed that he genuinely hopes she finds peace within herself and learns to accept how things unfolded. At the end of the day, Brown noted that everyone is going to leave behind a memory, a legacy. And with the way things have been going publicly, the unfortunate lasting image could be that Ronda is seen as a sore loser. Brown stressed that it doesn't have to remain that way, and there is still time for her to reshape how people remember her. Moving on to another news, things just got interesting in the boxing world as Nate Diaz has now publicly accepted Jake Paul's call-out for a short notice fight. This all comes after the scheduled matchup between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis was canceled due to serious allegations involving Gervonta. Once that fight fell apart, conversation online immediately turned to who could step in. Names like Nate Diaz and Francis Ngannou started to circulate right away, especially since Francis and Jake had already exchanged some heated words across social media. But now Nate has made his stance clear. Nate took to Instagram and posted a picture from his first boxing match with Jake, showing the moment he landed a punch. The caption under the photo read, "Fight accepted." Just those two words were enough to send fans into a frenzy, because Nate is known for being a fighter who steps up without hesitation. Whether it's short notice or not, whether the stakes are high or low, Nate doesn't back away from a challenge. This post made it clear that, at least from his side, the rematch is on the table. Earlier that same same morning, Jake had already addressed the situation in his own post. He wrote that he respects Nate and called him a G, acknowledging that Nate is always willing to step in no matter the circumstances. But Jake also mentioned that he didn't believe the rematch was meant to happen for this particular event. He suggested that while he appreciates Nate being ready to go on 2 weeks' notice, he is looking for something bigger in terms of hype, promotion, and attention. He pointed out that there are a lot of fighters at the top of the sport who find excuses not to step up when the moment comes, and he gave Nate credit for not being one of those people. Still, Jake's tone made it sound like he doesn't see the rematch generating the level of excitement necessary to replace the original card. However, Nate posting his acceptance publicly was a strategic move. By making the acceptance open and visible to the entire fan base, he is applying pressure not just on Jake, but on the public conversation around the event. Nate knows how to rally support, and he knows that when fans get involved and start demanding a fight, momentum can shift quickly. Right now, it's less about contracts and more about public interest. If enough hype builds around the idea of Nate stepping in, Jake may have to reconsider what he initially said. Moving on to another news, JDM has made it clear that he believes Islam Makhachev is going to be surprised when the two meet at UFC 322, especially when it comes to the grappling exchanges. In the lead up to the fight, many fans and analysts have questioned how JDM will hold up on the ground against Islam, who is widely regarded as one of the strongest grapplers in the sport. The conversation has been constant, circulating online and in interviews, and JDM has definitely taken notice. During a recent interview with Main Event TV, JDM responded directly to the ongoing talk. He acknowledged that most people assume Islam will look to take him down, control him, and eventually hunt for a submission. JDM didn't deny that Islam's grappling is world-class, but he made it clear that he is far from unprepared. He said that Islam might be expecting a one-sided grappling advantage, but that assumption could lead to a big surprise once the fight begins. JDM explained that he has the right techniques, the right timing, and the right understanding for the kind of grappling game Islam brings. He believes that the adjustments he has made in training will allow him not only to defend, but to create his own openings. JDM pointed out that many people forget he already has a submission win in the UFC, specifically against Randy Brown, where he showed both control and composure on the mat. It wasn't just a scramble or a sudden catch, it was calculated. He believes that skill set has developed even further since then, and that Islam won't simply be able to dominate him in the grappling department. JM also mentioned that while grappling will matter, he expects a large portion of this fight to be spent standing. On the feet, he said he is confident he can shock Islam, create damage, and force reactions that will shape how the fight goes. In his mind, the fight isn't heading to a slow, drawn-out decision. JDM said he envisions the moment clearly. He sees a chaotic finish, the crowd erupting, and his corner reacting with pure energy as the fight comes to an end. He expressed that he has visualized that moment many times. The roar of the arena, his corner going wild, the emotional rush of securing the victory against one of the most dominant fighters in the sport. The matchup is only weeks away, and both fighters have remained composed publicly, but there's no denying the tension and excitement building. JDM appears focused, confident, and certain that the world is about to see a different side of his game, one that has not yet been fully displayed. Moving on to another news, Khabib was not satisfied with what he saw from his team during training today. In a new clip shared by AKA coach Javier Mendez, Khabib can be seen visibly frustrated after several of his fighters struggled to properly execute a drill. The tone in the room shifted quickly as Khabib stepped in to correct mistakes, and he didn't hold back in expressing his disappointment. He expects focus, precision, and discipline, especially during routine practice and when those things are missing. He addresses it immediately. During the clip, Khabib can be heard telling the group that the drill was only 40 seconds long, yet some of them still couldn't perform it correctly. He didn't yell, but the frustration in his voice was clear. He told them that if they don't want to push themselves now, they might as well stay home tomorrow. It wasn't said to be harsh. It was said to remind them what it takes to compete and improve. Khabib then demonstrated the technique himself, showing exactly how it should look. He had one fighter step forward, repeating the movements, pointing out the difference between doing something halfway and doing it correctly with purpose. At one point, he said, "Don't just go through the motions. Show me the right way. Do it sharp." The message was direct. If you want to be great, there are no shortcuts. The standard is high, and Khabib expects everyone in the room to rise to that standard. Even though he's been retired for years, the fire and intensity he carries when coaching remains the same as when he was competing. His presence alone changes the energy in the gym. Despite the tense moment, the clip later showed Khabib rolling on the mats with teammates, reminding everyone that his ground game is still elite. Even 5 years into retirement, the control, pressure, and technique he displays continues to stand out. His expectations are high because he knows what the top level requires, and he's committed to making sure his team reaches that level every single day. Moving on to another news, Aljamain Sterling has shared an update regarding his return to the UFC. During a recent appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Aljamain spoke openly about his recovery process and the timeline he has in mind for getting back into the octagon. He explained that he recently traveled to Mexico to receive stem cell treatment treatment through Rejuvastem, aiming to speed up his healing and ensure he's in top form when he steps back into competition. Aljamain mentioned that he originally hoped to return sooner. The plan was to fight in December, but the timing didn't line up the way he wanted. He had been waiting on the schedule of his close teammate Rob, who had a fight in October. Aljamain wanted to make sure he was there for him, and also wanted to time his own recovery around that. After Rob took that fight, Aljamain figured he would handle the treatment after the wedding and get things moving. But then Rob received another fight offer, and at that point, Aljamain realized he needed to focus on finally getting the stem cell process done instead of waiting any longer. Because of that delay, Aljamain said it doesn't look realistic for him to prepare properly for a December fight. Training camp requires full commitment, full movement, and no limitations, and he doesn't want to rush the process or show up at anything less than his best. So now the timeline has shifted. Aljamain explained that the most likely return window is around February or March of next year. He said it will depend on what the UFC offers, how quickly he continues to recover, and what opponents make sense when that time gets closer. He didn't confirm a specific name or matchup, but the tone of the update made it clear he is focused, motivated, and preparing for a strong return. Even though fans haven't seen him in action recently, Aljamain emphasized that this recovery period is important for longevity and performance. He is treating the process carefully, making sure that when he does step back into the cage, he's in the best condition possible to compete at the level he expects from himself. Moving on to another news, new details have surfaced regarding the ongoing UFC betting scandal, and things are getting even more serious. Recent updates indicate that the FBI is officially investigating the situation involving Isaac Delgarian following his fight last weekend. His coach, Mark Montoya, appeared on Ariel Helwani's show and confirmed that the investigation is active. He also revealed that he has released Isaac from his gym, Factory X, stating that the decision was made on Sunday after they spoke. Mark said that, in his view, Isaac may never fight again, regardless of whether he is ultimately found guilty or innocent. When he was asked if Isaac could potentially return to the gym if he's cleared, Mark responded that he would have to cross that bridge if and when the time comes. Mark also took time to address his own involvement in this situation, making it very clear that he has never participated in sports betting in any form. He said that his gym and his personal integrity are being attacked in the public eye. He emphasized that his life's work has gone into building his fighters, his team, and his community, and that he would never risk all of that by being involved in something like fight fixing or gambling-related corruption. For him, integrity and reputation are everything, and he stated strongly that he would never sell out one of his fighters, not for any amount of money. He wanted to reassure the public, the UFC community, and everyone watching that neither he nor Factory X had any part in the alleged scandal. However, the story doesn't stop there. Before Ariel Helwani's show ended, he said that he received a text message related to what had been discussed yesterday. As many of you know, several UFC fighters have recently claimed that they have been approached in the past with offers to fix fights. These claims have been circulating across the MMA community and raising serious concerns about whether this issue might be more widespread than anyone previously realized. According to Ariel, the text he received claimed that someone has knowledge of at least one fight that was, in their words, 100% fixed. Not only that, the text also claimed there are 2 additional fights with questionable circumstances surrounding them. Ariel did not reveal the names of the fighters involved, the dates, or any further details, likely because verifying information like this is extremely sensitive. But the fact that he shared the existence of the message at all suggests that there may be more layers to this story still waiting to come out. The UFC community is now watching closely, waiting to see what the investigation reveals, and whether more fighters or coaches may be implicated as this continues to unfold. Moving on to another news, during his show, Ariel Helwani was discussing the growing concerns surrounding fight-fixing allegations in the UFC when something unexpected happened live on air. As he was addressing the situation and breaking down what has already been revealed, he suddenly paused and mentioned that he had just received a text message. The message claimed to have inside information on fights that were intentionally manipulated. Ariel read it out, saying, "I can tell you a fight that I am 100% certain was thrown, and 2 others that were attempted." His reaction was immediate. You could tell even he was taken off guard by the timing and the confidence in the message. Someone out there claims to have direct knowledge of at least 1 fight that was fixed, and 2 more where an attempt was allegedly made. One of the co-hosts responded in the moment, saying, "Oh man, call me later," clearly realizing the seriousness of what was just dropped into the conversation. The tone instantly shifted. If specific details start to surface, and people can go back and analyze the footage, round by round, strike by strike, it changes everything. It doesn't just affect one fighter, one coach, or one event. It puts the integrity of the entire sport under scrutiny. The possibility of fights being intentionally thrown strikes at the heart of what makes competitive combat sports meaningful. Fans trust that every punch, takedown, and submission attempt is real, earned, and fought for. Fighters step into the cage with their livelihoods, reputations, and dreams on the line. If there are confirmed instances of fights being fixed, even if only a handful, it introduces doubt that could spread across across the whole landscape of the UFC. The consequences of that would be massive for the fighters, the coaches, the promotions, and the fans watching worldwide. Moving on to another news, Dana White appeared on TMZ Sports and finally addressed the growing UFC betting scandal that has taken over the conversation in the MMA world. He explained that the UFC has been working with a company called Integrity Compliance 360, also known as IC360, which monitors betting activity on all UFC fights in real time. According to Dana, this company reached out to the UFC before the Isaac Delgarian versus Yair Delva fight and notified them that there was unusual betting movement happening leading up to the bout. They alerted the UFC that something didn't look normal. Dana said that once they heard that, they immediately contacted the fighter and his legal representation to ask if there was anything going on. They asked if he was hurt, if he owed money, or if anyone had approached him to influence the fight. The fighter denied everything and insisted there was nothing wrong. The fight happened as scheduled and ended in the first round by rear naked choke. As soon as the fight was over, the very first thing the UFC did was call the FBI. Dana mentioned that he personally met with the FBI twice in one day regarding the issue. He also addressed rumors that hundreds of fights were under investigation, calling that narrative pure clickbait. He said IC360 monitors every single fight and provides a full report after each event, so if something suspicious ever happens, they know quickly. He emphasized that this is a company the UFC has worked with for years and that they take integrity extremely seriously. Dana also sent a strong warning to all fighters who might even consider being involved in any kind of fight fixing or betting manipulation. He said that if any fighter, coach, or team member gets caught doing this, the UFC will work directly with the FBI and do everything possible to ensure they end up in prison. He revealed that a group of FBI agents had just been inside the UFC headquarters investigating this exact situation. He stated that if fighters have been approached in the past about throwing fights, they should have immediately notified law enforcement. Now that some fighters are only speaking up publicly without reporting it when it happened, those fighters are also expected to be contacted by the FBI. Dana compared the situation to someone being asked to rob a bank. Even if you decline and walk away, you are still supposed to report that someone tried to involve you in a crime. He made it clear that anyone who is admitting now that they were approached will be questioned, and that this is not something to joke about or use for headlines. With more details continuing to emerge and various fighters now stepping forward saying they were contacted by people trying to fix fights, it looks like this situation is far from over. The investigation is active, and more revelations about past fights and possible involvement could surface very soon. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.